UFC 251 happened. Max Holloway lost in a controversial split decision to Alexander Volkanovski, and people really don't like it. So there are two discussions that are being had simultaneously. One is that under the 10-point must system and scoring round by round, Max deserved to win. And the other discussion is, well, the 10-point must system is dumb to begin with. Max had 2 dominant rounds. Volkanovski did not have a single round as dominant as Max's first 2 rounds. So why should his rounds be worth the same? Not that my opinion matters, but I agree with really both of these arguments. The 10-point must system never really made sense for MMA. Scoring by round probably makes even less sense because the rounds are both longer as well as fewer in number than in boxing. So for example, in a 3-round fight, one fighter can have a dominant round, the other 2 rounds can be a wash, and he still has a good chance of losing. It's very hard to get a 10-8 round too. If knockdowns resulted in an automatic 10-8 like they do in boxing, then Max would have had 2 10-8s last Saturday that would have carried him to a win regardless of how many of the latter 3 rounds Volkanovski won. But that's probably a discussion for another day. It doesn't matter if the whole criteria is flawed or that it needs reform. We're all convinced that Max won the fight even under this criteria. So let's take a look. First 2 rounds, no dispute there. Max won these. Volkanovski attacks Max's legs pretty much immediately, similar to the first fight. In fact, it was his leg kicks that carried him to victory in the first fight. But one thing Max did in the rematch is he tried to respond to every leg kick with a leg kick of his own. This was a way of canceling out the leg kicks in the impression of the judges, or at least it should have been. Alex was very shrewd, however. A lot of times he wasn't even putting much behind the kicks. He often doubled up on the leg kicks even. So Max's strategy of responding in kind was an intelligent one. This was not an action-packed round by any means. There was naturally a feeling out process, but Max landed some nice kicks to the body and was just doing better overall work. And then towards the end of the first round, he lands a 1-2 on Volkanovski that hurts him a bit, and after doing this, he taunts him. This is vintage Max Holloway. In the closing seconds of the round, Max lands a spinning back kick to the body before dropping Alex with the right high kick. Round 2, Max picks up where he left off. Volkanovski can't really find his range. His only offense up to this point had been leg kicks, and Max is responding in kind. And once again, towards the end of the round, Max knocks Alex down, this time with a right uppercut. The swing round for most people is round 3. To his credit, this was the round where Alex starts to change his game plan a bit and attempt some takedowns. Perhaps due to the height disparity, Volkanovski could pretty much get those underhooks whenever he wanted. Holloway defended this takedown attempt fairly effortlessly though, although Volkanovski did manage to slow down the fight and hold Max against the fence for a bit there. Volkanovski outlanded Holloway in this round, but Holloway seemed to land the more effective shots. Although if you consider it a wash in the striking department, then Volkanovski's half-minute or so of control time might have won him the round. Round 4 was very similar to round 3. Both fighters had their moments. This time, however, Volkanovski did manage to take Holloway down with an inside leg trip, but Holloway gets up in a matter of seconds, so maybe that's not worth anything. Round 5 I won't talk about because that was a fairly clear Volkanovski round just based on his takedowns and control time. Although strangely enough, the judge who scored the fight for Max gave Max that 5th round. So overall, this wasn't the worst judging decision in history for sure. Most people, including myself, disagree with it and felt that Max won 3 rounds to 2. But Volkanovski does have a case for rounds 3 to 5. They were close, and I see no fault in the judges giving him all 3. The issue here, as I mentioned before, is Holloway had 2 very dominant rounds. In such a scenario, why should Holloway win by virtue of barely winning 3 rounds? Holloway learned from the first fight and adjusted accordingly. And although Alexander landed almost as many leg kicks as he did in the first fight, Max not only responded in kind, but more importantly, he didn't let them affect him. He didn't switch stances. And what Max was landing to the head and the body of Volkanovski would indicate that the leg kicks weren't really neutralizing Max in the way they did in the first fight.